I gotta say, my top 10 favorite albums of all time was yet again a new hardest list. Okay, you know, and I feel kind of lazy going through all the songs and whatever, so it doesn't really matter. you know, yeah. This is a new hardest list, so I'm having my coffee, whatever. I'm gonna go through this shit. So, my top 10 favorite albums of all time, and this is a extremely important list. Okay, obviously my top 10 favorite albums. So, we're gonna kick it off with Smashing Pumpkins, Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, 1995, double album. Siamese Dreams, I thought was my favorite Smashing Pumpkins album. But when I, for the first time ever in my life, going through and thinking about what's my favorite albums of all time, top 10, this was higher, and it just it's an extraordinary album. It's like a real dream experience going through all. Is really one of the greatest artistic albums, art albums, I would say, of all time. So Smashing Pumpkins, Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, their best album of all time, if not Siamese Dream. So 9, Jean-Michel Jarre, Oxygen, 7 to 13. Not the first album, Oxygen 1 to 6. Is it a better album? I don't know. This is a little more, for a time, I remember when this was new, my brother who had this album is his favorite musician, Jean-Michel Jarre. Michael, his name was. Yeah, I absolutely love this album. It's not my favorite Jean-Michel Jarre album, but it's close. 8, Aphex Twin, I Care Because You Do, 1995. Aphex Twin is known as the first IDM, intelligent dance music artist of all time. His album Selected Ambient Works 85 to 92 deserves to be, often rated as the number one electronic music album of all time. I like I Care Because You Do much better. Not really much better, but I like how it's melodic. He developed his style more and everything. So yeah, I slight I prefer for it. So 7, Iron Maiden, The Number of the Beast, 1982. The album that really introduced me to heavy metal. I listened before to heavy metal and Iron Maiden, but this was boom. Here we go. Hello Be Thy Name. They're known as the greatest metal song of all time. I'm not gonna argue, The Number of the Beast, Run to the Hills, singles and music videos. 22, Acacia Avenue. Invaders, the opening track, people have problem with. I don't know, it's a real fucking Wolfstanker opener. Absolutely amazing album, and I think this should be bigger than Metallica's Master of Puppets, even though how important it is. So The Number of the Beast is a superior album, I think. But 6, 1200 micrograms, Heroes of the Imagination. It's a psychedelic trance band. One of the Raya Ram, who he's like the spokesperson, the biggest in psychedelic trance. This album is a full-on psytrance album. What they did here with their first album, they did a lot of like psychedelic drugs like ayahuasca, ecstasy, whatever, salvia divinorum, whatever. So this is their second album, but Ray Ram has been in psychedelic trance for so long before. But this, for me, 1200 micrograms is the number one psychedelic trance band of all time. So this album, as I thought about it, The Time Machine, their third album, and their first album, self-titled 1200 micrograms, when they did every song about psychedelic drugs and whatever. This album is about heroes of the imagination, Leonardo da Vinci, many others, Bombash, whatever. I would say that Galileo, probably my favorite song of the album. When they did a song of Galileo, whatever. This is. I think it's psychedelic trance. When they don't use the theme where what is known for drugs and whatever, psychedelic drugs, as the whole scene is known for, but it's not really that, if you know what psychedelic the word means. So it's my favorite psychedelic trance album for sure. The Time Machine is close, but whatever. Self-titled 1200 micrograms. So 5, Jean-Michel Jarre, Rendezvous, 1986. My favorite Jean-Michel Jarre album. Jean-Michel Jarre is known as the biggest, greatest, like the godfather of electronic music. Not the first, but the greatest and everything. Really the one who did basically everything for electronic music. Everyone knows who is a fan of electronic music. This guy is the one, okay? He's the best of the best, and one of my favorite composers of all time. Probably the greatest composer of all time, I would say, over Ludwig van Beethoven or all the classic musicians, whatever, it doesn't matter, it's just my opinion, whatever. Rendezvous, I had a dream. It's a strange thing, I have such a connection to this album. I knew before I heard the whole album. Maybe I heard all songs, I don't know. Before, many years ago, I knew this was gonna be my favorite Jean-Michel Jarre album. And I had a dream where I was in Jean-Michel Jarre's apartment, and he played strings over, and I couldn't all over his apartment, playing strings all over, or his house, whatever it was. And I recognized the song, but and I thought it is from the Rendezvous album, and it was the third Rendezvous song. And what he does, he plays on laser harp, the instrument, not physical. So he breaks he breaks the laser strings and everything. Had to have gloves and everything, and for his size, because laser hurts your eyes. So this is my favorite Jean-Michel Jarre album. I think it's an absolute fucking masterpiece. And the last song, when the one was gonna record on the Apollo, everything, I'm not gonna talk about it, in space, and whatever. This album is extraordinary. So 4, Nirvana, Nevermind. Greatest grunge album of all time. My favorite grunge album. And yeah, Kurt Cobain, may he rest in peace. The most important human being that's been in grunge. Absolutely extraordinary album. As no, in Rolling Stone magazine, this was the when they did their 500 greatest album. I'm sorry, 500 greatest albums of all time. This was number 6. You know, absolute masterpiece. Smells Like Teen Spirit, probably the coolest song of the 1990s. Smells Like Teen Spirit. You know. In Bloom, other deep cuts or Drain You, like, you know, amazing album, one of the greatest of all time. So 3, Aphex Twin, Richard D. James album. This, if you would ask me years and years, many years ago, this would be my number one. This is Aphex Twin is. As I said, with care because really the one who created IDM, intelligent dance music, many genres in the IDM umbrella, like drum and bass, glitch, whatever, abstract, and now you know it never ends. So Veneta snares. Is one of the biggest now, and I fucking can't remember the genre. Whatever, but whatever. Yeah, this album, either Selected Ambient Works 85 to 92 or Richard D. James' album is known as this, but this is my favorite. This is where he got a little more crazy, starting using computers more than analog to make basically, I guess, all his music in computers, whatever computer programs. Yeah, this Girl Boy song, one of his greatest track of all time, for the opening track of this album. Many tracks, yeah. This is one of my dearest favorite albums of all time, always gonna be. But number 2 is Iron Maiden Power Slide, my favorite band of all time. If not Autekre, but there's not really a band, there are 2-piece and whatever. So Iron Maiden Power Slide is my favorite metal album of all time. No doubt about it at all. It's when I heard it the first time, I thought this is a perfect album. Every song. They say there are fillers on this album, like Flesh of the Blade and The Duelist, Back in the Village. No way. This is, as I think, is the most important album. The Number of the Beast is Maiden's most known album, but this is the real fucking beast. This is the greatest metal album of the 80s that give the most inspiration and influence to other metal bands. Yeah. Number 1, Autekre, Try Repeat. Try Repeat. And this is a kind of a strange... not now, but before. I got so obsessed with this fucking album. Autekre, if they were a band, but it's a 2-piece, they... now they do all the music in laptops, whatever, send their patches. Yeah, this band is like the most intelligent thing you will ever fucking experience. How they put their numbers in their albums, like the Try Repeat is 3, by the way, and yeah, whatever, check all this shit out and you will see on the front covers how they put things together and everything. So this would be my favorite band of all time, but they're 2-piece. There's no guitar, bass, drums, singers, or everything, but anything. But and I think most will agree that this is Aphex best album, where they, after Incubudi or whatever it calls, and what's their second album? I forgot the name. Whatever, Amber, and Try Repeated, their third album, is known as their best. LP5, their fifth album, is close, but this is their masterpiece. I started listening to Aphex many years ago, and I listened to all their albums from the first to the last. And then the last was, what was it, their 12th album, whatever it was called now, I can't remember, but whatever. This was my favorite. LP5 was number 2. I would go so far, if I would do my top 10, 20, 50, 100 songs, whatever, that would be the hardest list ever, okay? But there's the second song on here, Clipper. That's just euphoria, pure euphoria. The perfect, like, for me, the perfect instrumental song. Okay, and the seventh song, C/Patch, and the 10th and final song, RSDO, radio, RSDO, whatever. This album from beginning to end for me is pure fucking euphoria. It's the most beautiful instrumental album of all time, and my favorite album of all fucking time. You know, for me, this is like, if you think of video games, Uncharted 3 for PlayStation 3, my favorite video game of all time. You know, this is Black Mirror of music, albums, studio albums, my favorite television series of all time, whatever. But anyways, caveat to this sort of whatever. If I would have to pick another album, and this would be number 1, is Soundtrack from Twin Peaks. Michelangelo Battio, almost mixed up with the guitarist Angelo Badalamenti. The name is close. Angelo Badalamenti composed the music for Twin Peaks. Julie Cruz singing and some songs. That would be number 1, music from Twin Peaks, but it's not a studio album, so Aphex is a official soundtrack, is a soundtrack album. So Aphex Try Repeat is my favorite studio album of all time, and it grows so much over the years and years and years. My favorite music, and I think this is also not the Aphex Twin Selected Ambient Works 85 to 92. This is the first IDM intelligent dance music album you should start with, and it's known as in the top of the elite IDM albums. This is the one you should start with if you're trying to get into IDM. My favorite album of all time. Thank you. Bye.